Hey gang, welcome to my review for the Factory X prop replica of Thor's Hammer Mjolnir. This was originally released in 2001, pretty much only distributed to comic stores and things like that. It was a limited edition of only 1,500 pieces, originally retailed for about $250. And it's very highly sought after by both fans of Thor and Marvel fans in general. I am the original owner. I pre-ordered it when it first came out. And this is it right here in all its glory. All original. No modifications or anything made. Original base, original hammer, original box, certificate of authenticity. So far, even though there are a couple videos on YouTube, none of them are this complete. So hopefully you'll learn something and enjoy. As far as the hammer is concerned, do my best to keep everything in the light here. It consists of a solid block of aluminum, a large bolt right here that holds it onto the solid wood base or handle, which is stained here at the hilt. The handle itself is wrapped in not one but two layers of leather. One tan, the other one dark brown, and yes, that is a layer of leather, not the handle itself. The tan layer wraps down and ends in the thong, which on this particular version does not end on the other side like in the comics. However, they made this one adjustable so that it can fit your wrist. Now, when you first get the hammer, it is in a couple different pieces. You have to assemble it yourself. I'm not going to take it apart for you right now. I kind of like the way it is. As far as detail is concerned, the leather is very, very nice, very well done. It's not thin. As you can see, it's definitely a nice thick layer of leather. On the face itself, you have the classic phrase etched in. It's not raised, it's actually carved into the aluminum. And of course it says, "Whosoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor." When you originally ordered this, you had the option to get it done on both sides. However, I only got it done on the one side because that's the only side it's supposed to be on. As I said, there are a couple of videos of this on YouTube. However, in a couple of them, the mallet actually looks as though it's shiny. It looks as though it's been buffed. Almost has a mirror finish to it. Anybody who's ever read a Thor comic book knows that Hammer's Thor is not shiny. It's not supposed to look like that way. Well, this is how it came from the factory. It's got a nice little finish on there. It's hard to describe. It's almost like a stain, almost. It's like it's a protective layer. I'm not exactly sure what they used or how they did it, but it's a protective layer to prevent the aluminum from getting excessively scratched or anything when being handled. I believe that when you see those mirror finish mallets, it's possibly either a reproduction or whoever had it had buffed this layer off, because as you can see with the etching underneath this is a mirror finish for the aluminum. The hammer itself definitely has some heft to it, because that is a solid block of aluminum. It weighs, I want to say about 7 pounds. I haven't actually weighed it myself yet, but it's somewhere between 5 and 10 pounds, easily. It's definitely got some heft to it. And it is solidly constructed. When I say aluminum, please don't get the wrong idea. I know you're probably thinking of an aluminum soda can or something along those lines. Also remember that your engine block in your car is also made of aluminum. That's what this is. So you could, in theory, throw this across the room without any worry of what would happen to the hammer once it got to the other side. You might have to worry about the other things at the other side of the room, but not the hammer. This is very, very solidly constructed. I have no worries about this ever getting damaged, just because it is magnificently made. I wish Factory X had made more things to this quality. More on that later in a future review, but as far as Thor's hammer goes, it's outstanding. Alright, moving on to the base. It comes with this base, and like the hammer, you have to assemble it. It comes in 2 pieces. The base has this plaque, which is nicely done. It's polished, and I don't know how well it's coming in on the video, but it does say, you know, Mjolnir, the hammer of the mighty Thor, 2001 Marvel, Factory X presents. You can probably see these 2 indentations on the base, one up here, one down here. These are for where the hammer rests when you have it on display. Both of these indentations are also, as well as the top ridge here, are all covered with felt, so that when you are displaying the hammer, there is no excessive wear on the hammer itself. On the bottom of the base, there are also some felt feet, so that when you have it on a surface, it doesn't scratch the surface that you lay it on. As I said, I have the certificate of authenticity. Not particularly sure if it's saying 1 of 1,500 pieces means that this is the first piece out of 1,500, or whether or not it's just one of them. But, yep, it says, yeah, you know, certificate of authenticity, Factory X, Mjolnir, the hammer of the mighty Thor. The hammer of the mighty Thor is an authentic Marvel limited edition replica, 1 of 1,500 pieces. And of course, here's the assembly instructions behind that. And then we have the box, which of course says Mjolnir at the top. Yes, when you pronounce it, the J is silent, so it's just Mjolnir. Nice stylized decor on the box. It appears to be a little bit off-center, but I'm not sure if they did that on purpose, but whatever, works for me. The sides of the box, you have Mjolnir for the background behind the hammer of the mighty Thor, lightning bolts, and on the back you have just a brief little read-up telling you that there will be other pieces in the collection coming soon. So, yeah, just get everything back in frame here. Alright. Okay. 2 very, very minor gripes. And I do mean minor. One, the thong, of course, is not styled as it would be in the comic book. The thong in the comics, of course, would start here and end on this side, and just loop around. The fact that they made it adjustable, however, is pretty cool. I am not bothered by that at all, and as you can see, when you display it, it still looks decent. There's no denying what this piece is. Tiny, tiny, insignificant little nitpick for that, as far as I'm concerned. Cameras all over the place. The second gripe that I do have is just as minor, however, it is worth pointing out. As I mentioned before, there are 2 indentations on the base where you rest the hammer. However, the handle itself is just a tiny, tiny bit too short to actually fill in the notch on the bottom of the base. So the majority of the weight being supported up here. It's not that big of a deal, as you can see. I mean, it's a sturdy base. It's not going to tilt over or anything. And you cannot even tell, because of the whole black bottom here, that the handle is not really resting in that groove, unless you go up there and take a really good close look at it. So it is a minor gripe. It's not the end of the world, however. I am still a huge fan of this. Let's see. As I mentioned before, this is the Factory X version. Originally came out in 2001. It was the first prop replica of Thor's hammer. There have been others, at least one, and I believe a second one is in the works. The other one I'm talking about was originally released by Diamond, and it came out just a couple years after this, just after like Factory X went out of business. I'm not sure whether or not they bought the rights to this, but their hammer looks essentially the same as this one does, as near as I can remember. Only it comes with a much different base. The Diamond's base is actually looks as though it's a bunch of rocks, and then you have the hammer laying on its side in that base. It's not stood up like this one is. The second version, or reproduction, I should say, sorry, that I have heard, I believe is being put out by Master Replicas. The pre-production photos appear to have the same hammer, still classic comic book style, not the movie style. No talk of a base. I'm not entirely sure how much that would cost, or if the quality is going to be up to snuff with this one. I do know that the Diamond version is a very, very close second to this version. And it is worth looking into, especially if you're interested in something like this. As I said, this was limited to 1,500 pieces. It came out 10 years ago by a company that is no longer in business, and it originally retailed for $250. I've only seen it once in the aftermarket in the past 10 years after its initial release, and that was about 4 years ago, 2007, at my local Wizard World Comic Con, and the dealer was asking for $750. So it's tripled in value in just 6 years. Now, 10 years later, I never see it. I see the Diamond version every once in a while. I don't see this anymore. Just about everybody who owns one or wants one has already got it. So if you are fortunate enough to actually find this version and you have the money available, don't even hesitate, because there's a damn good chance you will never see it again. This comes highly recommended. It is by far my favorite movie or comic book prop in my entire collection. And I do have a couple. I'll be showing the rest of them to you guys, but I wanted to start with the best. Yep. So that was my review for Thor's Hammer Mjolnir, Factory X. If you like this video, please check out my channel. If you like the stuff that you see there, please subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching. And just so you know, I'll probably be doing this bad boy next.